Good Work Podcast, hosted by Terrell Strayhorn and Jaquin Johnson. We specialize in taking a deep dive into issues that truly matter. Each episode unpacks the challenges and opportunities facing today's leaders, from classrooms to boardrooms, offering insights that inspire real change. By redefining success, we're changing lives, empowering people everywhere to create environments where everyone feels a sense of belonging, whether at home, work, or school. So hey, sit back, relax, grab your favorite beverage, and join us as we explore the issues shaping our futures, one meaningful conversation at a time. Let's go!
Welcome back to everyone. Welcome to another episode of Do Good Work Podcast. I'm your co-host, Terrell Strayhorn, joined in the studio by my co-host, friend, Quinn Johnson. And we are so delighted to have you with us this October 19th for what promises to be an incredible show. So listen, get your beverage, get your notebook, grab a neighbor, grab a friend. We're going to get ready for what we've got in store for you tonight. We're going to be talking about some of those issues that, whether it's in the classroom or the boardroom, those issues that create real world change. So now is the time. Like and subscribe. Let folks know. Follow us on LinkedIn. Follow us on Facebook. Connect with us on all of our social media. Be sure to like and subscribe. I'm going to kick it over to Jaquin. How you doing?
I am doing great. I still hear the music, so that may just be on my end. I got to figure that out. But doing good. Glad to be here on another Sunday. We'd like to start the show off with using a word of the week to describe your week or day. We're calling this a good word. So what is your good word of the week?
My good word of the week is standing. And I like that word because, one, I am still standing after a pretty long, productive, hardworking week. Had major deadlines this week. Got a lot of actually a couple of big kind of ticket items out the way, and so glad to have done that. Had a great opportunity to on the weekend go out to Baltimore, give a keynote at a conference there, and it was one of those moments where one of my friends who was there said something like, though I've heard you speak and stuff, you actually had me like in tears. And I actually experienced really heavy response and emotional response to my own talk. And so I was trying to unpack like what made me feel it that way. And I thought about like, although some of the things I talked about were things I've talked about a lot, I add some different elements to it. And I had some different memories of moments that really caught me by surprise. And I love it when I'm speaking and I know where I'm going, but then something else pops up in my consciousness and I share it and it gets an authentic reaction, right? So the crowd gets to experience that. And so I think so standing, because I'm still standing, but also it led to one of the most, and probably in my career, one of the longest standing ovations that I've had, probably my top 5, where people were clapping. They had been clapping for like a minute. They didn't really know what to do with what had just happened. And then people started standing and they're crying and then they're clapping. And so like all together, probably like 2.5 minutes of clapping and standing. So standing as in standing ovation. What about you?
Okay, I like that. Yeah, good word and way to connect that to your experience. So for me, I think I'm a little bit on the opposite end of the spectrum. Got a lot done. My word is jam-packed for Johnson, jam-packed. With a lot of reading, planning, writing, and editing. Although I did accomplish a lot of writing this week, I still feel like, I take 4 steps forward and then another project lands on my plate and I'm back to where I started. So, The week has been filled with many accomplishments, many things that have been checked off the list, but there are new things on the list they have to focus on and accomplish in a short amount of time. So jam-packed week, but still looking forward to next week to kind of get some exciting work done.
Yeah, it's a not never ending kind of cycle, vicious cycle, as it were, of always having to manage different deadlines. And I think it was last week, I felt, no, 2 weeks ago, I felt like I was on top of things were going great. And then like one day passed. And before you know it, I felt like I was really behind the ball on everything. And then I had to like get up to speed. But I mean, I don't know. For those of you who are out there, remember, take the first letter of your last name. Think about your good word of the week. Drop it into the chat. We'll share it on the screen on the platform for you. But two, if anybody's out there with some secret sauce, secret tips on how to never feel or stop feeling this like I'm always churning, I'm always going, it's always a deadline, I'm on top, I'm now on the bottom, I'm back on top, drop that in the chat. We'll also share that as well. All right.
Well, I know this is not topic of the discussion, but we kind of talked about this earlier in the week that at one point, one of us experienced, again, feeling overwhelmed and tightness in our chest and having to get a project or something done. What do you do when you kind of experience those moments?
Wow. in the church, people would say things like flesh and blood did not reveal this to you, Jaquin. You did not stumble on this topic by accident. It's actually a really good time for, I think, me to think through the answer to this question a little bit. And so I appreciate you bringing it up. Though we had a pre-show, we didn't talk about this in the pre-show. And so I think for me, one thing I'm owning, and I have to just realize is okay, so let me separate for me, like when I have a lot to do from when I feel like the work is on top of me, right? Generally speaking, I have a lot to do in a week. And I think about it, just the average week right now, Monday, I run a meeting of all of the deans. And so that's a meeting I've got to plan. I've got to think through. There's got to be productive time. It's got to align with what the university is doing. It's got to align with what the provost. So there's a lot of thinking that has to go into that meeting. Secondly, I work very closely with my provost on making sure that he has all the reports that he needs and stuff for the week. And so there's a lot of work every week. There's something to be done there, right? On top of this, I teach on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so I've got to plan and think about the course. So that's just in a typical week. Those are three things that have to happen. Their Center for the Study of HBCUs, where I serve as director of research, also has a meeting. So that's four. Even no matter what, rain, shine, those are four kind of things that I just plug into my week on top of the things that we have with both do good work, writing, speak, and then usually speaking and the like. Okay, so because of that, having all that on my schedule actually doesn't cause me a lot of stress, especially when I know that it's there, because I can plan for it. I can spend time thinking, planning, getting my agendas together and so forth. But when I have, in addition to that, unexpected additions, deadlines, things that I thought other people were managing that all of a sudden now I've got to do some heavy lifting on. We've had this where we'll send in a proposal. You got to talk to the people about it when you share your story. Like we'll send a proposal for a book chapter 3 months ago. And then on a random Wednesday, hear that our book chapter proposal was accepted. They need the chapter in 2 weeks. Okay, whoa, that wasn't on my radar. And, there are other things that we're managing. And so at that point where I feel like the work is on me, I feel it first in my chest. There's a tightness in my chest. It's uncomfortable. It's not a feeling that I enjoy. So typically what I will do, for anybody who knows me, is I will try to regulate my breathing, because the first thing that starts to happen is I start holding my breath and getting nervous and worried, and that causes me to have shortness of breath. Okay, that's one. Two is I will, do all of this, sort of fidgeting, moving my hands, just trying to get rid of this nervous energy. All right. So to the heart of your question, one of the things I do when the work is on top of me is I pull away. I've got to have me time. And I'm learning, not very well all the time, but I'm learning that I've got to find the words to help people understand that I'm not rejecting them. I'm not, they're not the problem, but I really do have to have like my own space, right? Because I've got to think through, strategize, okay, what do I have to do? What comes first? What comes second? And when work is really on top of me, which I do not enjoy that feeling, I've got to have some really long, focused stretch of time where I literally cannot pay attention to anything else. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't, with all due respect, I can't look at your TikTok. See the funny video that has you laughing. I can't, find out why you just fell on the floor, or I just can't. And I know me, because I'm a people person, I'm connected to people in that way, that like if people are around me and in my space, I'm going to pay attention to them because I don't like to be rude. But so because I don't like to be rude, I've got to push myself to be very honest that like, even if people say, hey, well, I won't be a distraction, you don't know me very well. You're going to be a distraction. Your presence will be a distraction because you're there. And this week has really taught me, both at home, at work, at play, that I still have some lessons to learn there, because I'm not creating the space that I need when I feel that kind of pressure to manage it very well. And I'm not communicating it so that then, for instance, if people are listening, right? And people say, well, I haven't heard from you in 3 days. They feel like I was rejecting them, but it wasn't rejection. It was that I literally hit that moment where I felt like I got a lot of work on me and I just needed to go into a hole. And I knew I was going to come back out because that's what I do. And I don't typically like to it shouldn't be that way, right? But that's what happens. I think for me, pulling away, having that focus, uninterrupted time, it may seem antisocial, but it really is more strategic than that. And also then communicating what I need. Now, lastly, the thing that I need.
That part.
If I don't have candy, I know it's not healthy, but still, I need candy and I need coffee. 2 C's. That's me. What about you?
I love it. I think a lot of things that you experience, I too experience. For me, it is the unexpected work. So as you mentioned, we have a lot of things. We have things on our plate that need to get done. And you and I joke about, there's always work to be done. But again, I enjoy the work. I enjoy, focus time, getting those things done, reading about a new topic and writing about it and putting something out there. Really energizes me and gets me excited. But it's the things that just appear suddenly without notice. And that is when I begin to overthink. I begin to pace a lot. I am a nail biter. I've been trying to stop for probably the last 15 years, but there is always something that triggers me to bite my nails. That's a clear sign that I'm overwhelmed and stressed. So for me, once I realize how I'm feeling and I note that I need to do something about it, because again, all these things that happen simultaneously will cause me to avoid the work as well, because I know it's like, my mind is not really prepared to do that work right now. I'm just going to sit there, play with the laptop, type in some things, read something when I'm not really reading it. It's just on the screen, and then try to go write something and don't know what to say, but I read. So for me, it's really pulling away from the laptop, going for a walk, being around family. Maybe it's having dinner with someone for 30 minutes to kind of get my mind off of the work, refocus, and then get back to it. But to talk about what you were saying, when you have to step away to really focus, and you're not being rude to others by not responding to them or paying attention to them. I have experienced that many times, and I feel guilt though when people say like, you haven't reached out to me, you haven't texted me, you didn't call me back. I feel so guilty. And I don't think I have the words yet to say like, the work really pulled me away. To me, I think that people will view that as an excuse. They don't have that issue where once 5 o'clock hits, they don't think about work anymore. After 5 o'clock, everything that they care about is at home, right? Well, for me, kind of my work really comes home with me. We have book chapters and articles, or when we're talking about a next talk or a presentation, whatever that may be, some of those things happen at home. So I know for me, when I kind of have these instances where people share that they felt neglected or didn't feel like I paid attention to them, I have to work through kind of that guilt.
Yeah. Well, there are two things I want to say. One is, I don't know if you're just saying that because you have it on your notes over there, but I've never known you to have lunch with nobody for 30 minutes. So I don't know what meal you think you're going to have with anybody for 30 minutes, but you need to lift your hands and repent on a Sunday.
It was just a number that just flew out. 30
Tell
minutes
these
is a
people
lot.
that you be staying at these lunches, not lunch during the workday, but these dinners for 3 hours. Secondly, that's exactly my point. That last piece you said is, I think we as a society, we as a group of people, we as villages for one another have to, the term is overused. My mom always says, what do y'all mean when you say this? But we got to give each other grace. I watched this thing. I got to find it again. It's an old video of Beyonce. This is before Beyonce was really Beyonce. And she talks about her discipline. Like, I'm not a part of the Beehive, but I have enormous respect for her as an artist. And I even have more respect having watched this because Beyonce's a hard worker. And what she communicates in very flat-footed ways, similar to what you hear sometimes from Oprah, is like they don't deal with that guilt. And they do not allow people to make them feel guilty about committing time and energy and effort to their gift, to their passion. And the way they rationalize it is not like egotistical. It's that, for every hour that she gives to the routine and every day that she gives to the project, she has her beehive in mind. She has her fans in mind. She's giving to the people what they need, and it takes time to create it and construct it. And she can't be bothered if you are mad because she didn't show up to your birthday party or because she didn't return your text while she was working on her magic. And I just think there's a level of that we all do need, because I have dealt with that guilt, and I don't want to feel with it because, one, I shouldn't feel guilty for doing good work. I shouldn't feel guilty for having to focus on moving through a mountain of priorities, right? Because it wasn't personal. When I did it, I wasn't saying, oh, let me ignore you, or, oh, let me not respond to you. I literally didn't see your text because I have a friend in Houston who helps me a lot. He helps me a lot because his life is less complicated. And he will often say things like, did you not see my text? I'm like, I literally did not. He's like, so you're not looking at your phone? I'm like, haven't looked at it in like 5 hours. What about your watch? You have an Apple Watch. It's dead. So what are you doing? I'm literally reading a paper and trying to edit this book chapter to get it in. Or I am literally building the slides for my keynote tomorrow. And he has helped me in ways that I did not appreciate at first. I thought, like, I just didn't get the text, but I have to appreciate that. And he has to appreciate that everybody's life is not the same, right? So I have learned that there are people who can't imagine not looking at their phone for an entire hour. But then there are people whose lives are such that the phone dies and you don't even realize it because you're so engrossed in what you're working on. And we're just different. I think that's the beauty to me of diversity in that sense. I hope we can build a society where we can all exist peacefully and purposefully.
You make a good point about, I got two things I have to say. I'm gonna go with where you ended. One is, there are times where I do see the text and I'm telling myself, okay, once I finish this project or assignment or task, I'm going to get back to you. But you know, that project takes 3, 4, 5, 6 hours to get done. And by that time, I forgot that you text me and I'm going straight to bed. I'm not scrolling through my phone, I'm not trying to figure out who texts me that I got to respond back to. Most of the time it's already 1, 2 o'clock. So I'm not going to respond to you that late at night, right? Knowing you're not going to respond to the next, well, I guess, couple hours later. The second thing is I have watched videos of like Oprah, Beyonce, Obama, and so many more say things like, you know, they have dedicated time of like very long hours of work, and the people that are in their circle understand that. Like you said, they don't feel that guilt. And I first of all, they need to host a webinar about it and how to work through it, because I am someone who, and I'm not speaking to anybody who knows me or who's in my circle. I'm not talking about you because you're not in my mind right now. I'm just sharing some experiences like that's not my experience. You know, there are people in my circle who know at 7 o'clock on Sunday, I have a podcast, and I guarantee you they're going to text me at 6:58. They're going to call me at 7:15, knowing that I'm doing something. And then hours later, I know tomorrow they're gonna be like, "Oh, so you was busy, huh? Okay." And you also know what I was doing at 7 every Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, and I think again, what I would and I can't listen. Obama, Beyonce, Oprah, all of y'all, if you hear this, somebody tags you in it. If you want to come on the podcast, please, we would happily yield the floor for you to explain to us. But I think without them being here, you know, I said something to my mother. My mom and I have an incredible relationship. And we worked hard for this relationship. First of all, she worked super hard because she gave me life on my birthday, right? But we have had conversations, and as I have matured and grown, there have been points of agreement and disagreement. But the beauty of our relationship is we always find our way through it. And in fact, without getting too emotional, like I know I am the person I am today because of my mom and my dad. You know, I am not afraid of disagreeing with people. I don't think every disagreement has to be disagreeable. I just literally had this happen in the workplace this week, and I was able to confront someone about it. And every time someone confronts you doesn't have to be confrontational, right? Because I remember growing up in my house, my parents' house, but our house, like you didn't go to sleep mad at each other. If you had a problem with something that happened, you're supposed to talk about it. You're not going to be slamming doors. You're not going to be stomping through the hall. They didn't play those games. Like, you're not going to slam the door and leave me alone. Don't talk to me. Like, I would have no teeth at all if I did that. But I'm glad that it wasn't that kind of relationship, because what they would do if I did stomp my feet down the hall, though I didn't, is they'd come in there and say, "What's wrong? You mad? What are you mad about?" Which means I have to use my words to communicate through my frustration and my tension. And the best thing my parents gave me, and well, there are a lot of things my parents gave me in my childhood, but one of the things I am most grateful about tonight, today, this week, this month, is that they didn't allow me to implode. They created the space for me to have to communicate and not use my hands and not use my fists. My mom would always say, "I had to teach you," because she knew she had a black son. She had two, but she had to teach me. She would say, "I had to teach you before the courts teach you how to communicate, how to go from rage down to realism, how to be mad, but move that madness to mattering and meaningness, and like use your words to say what you're trying to say," right? So I'm saying all that because that's mattered a lot in my life, more ways than I ever expected. And when it comes to, so all that to say, at one point, I remember saying to my mom says, I said to her that people have to teach people how to treat them. My mom takes that and then uses it in her workplace. She echoes it back to me. And I still think you have to teach people how to treat you. So to your point, I think the difference for Oprah and Obama and Beyonce is they have taught their friends, they have taught their circle how to treat them. I'm just going to step out on a limb and say if we brought them to the show, you know, I believe they're not talking about hundreds of people. Their nucleus is quite small. But the reason why it's small is because everybody can't go there with you. I was just saying that to a group on a campus a few weeks ago. It's like, you know, these are students who, you know, are about to graduate from college. They're seniors. And I was like, listen, if you have not realized it already, you got to get over the guilt of who you let go of in high school, who is not with you in your senior year. Some of those are people who just didn't progress. They didn't achieve. Okay, we're going to wish them well. We're going to pray for them and hope they can get back in school and finish up. But there's some people who, through conversations, through discussions, through breakups, through breakoffs, y'all have stopped being friends. You unfollowed each other. You blocked each other. And you cannot carry that guilt with you to your greatness. Guilt and greatness don't mix, right? You've got to release yourself from that. And so what I had them all do was write down on a piece of paper the names of those people. Jaquin, bro, some of those students were taking like minutes to write names down. I'm like, okay, we're done. They're like, no, give me like 5 more minutes. And they're writing. And I told them, I said, I want y'all to bring them to the front of the room, AKA the altar. And I said, throw them down and don't bring it up here until you're ready to let go of it. And when you get up here, you throw that down. And that's the last time you worry about the person who told you you weren't good because you didn't return the phone call, or the person who told you you weren't a good friend because you didn't pick up the text. I mean, you got to let it go, because there's in the words of Beyonce, translated and paraphrased, your fans, your future depends on it. Like, I unlike you, I mean, there are few times, now if I'm mad at a person, look, we're all human, we get upset, right? There are times I'd be like, not talking to you because you're not talking to me. But other than that, I really don't do that a lot, because I also feel like I could get up the phone and be like, hey, I'm mad at you because you did this, hoping for the words that are magical to my ears, and that is, I'm sorry. But I don't get that all the time from people, hypothetically speaking. But I feel very comfortable saying that. I do have, you know, as you know, I'm in school, and listen, my dad passed in April. My grandma died now over 10 years ago. My great aunt passed within the last year. Apart from my family, but my major priority in family right now is my mom, my last living parent. So unless my mom calls me, I really don't have a reason. Maybe, yeah, my kids and my grandbaby. But other than that, like, family calling me when I'm, you know, my back is against the wall and I got a lot of priorities, I'll do. But other than that, like, I give myself grace. I mean, you should guard your time. You got to be able to protect your peace. And just because you protect your peace, protecting my peace ain't got nothing to do with you. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we just have to give ourselves that. And I don't want people to think that's a read or being sassy. It's just like, gosh, we got this much time. So how do we create a world? Because we have gotten way out of control, right? First of all, I see all this, like, we got so much to put on the screen. Y'all are
oh, okay. There you go. I was thinking, I was like, somebody had to be saying something at this point.
No, they are killing over here. But I'm just simply saying, like, there are more Americans, you know this stat, with a smartphone than a toothbrush. That's how backward of a society we are. That we got more people with a smartphone that is at least a couple $100 than a toothbrush that you can get for $1 from the Dollar Tree. Well, $1.25 nowadays, but still $1.25, right? Why? Because everybody wants to be on their device. Everybody want to post. Everybody want to throw up a filter. Everybody want to be clicked on. Everybody want to be liked. Everybody want to be loved. Everybody wants to belong. I get that. But it does also create this expectation that I have 24-hour access to you. And somebody needs to put in the chat that you do not have 24-hour, 24/7 access to me just because I got a smartphone. I do have a smartphone, but I also have priorities. I do have a smartphone, but I also do have a life. I have a smartphone, but I got a family. I got a smartphone, but I got hobbies. I got interests. I got me time. There's a whole lot of stuff I got other than a smartphone. Take it, Jaquin.
Yeah, that's really good stuff. I know, you know, you tried it. in your little dialogue. So I'm gonna let that one go because everyone
Monologue,
called
the
it
monologue. That did feel like a
monologue.
monologue. Okay.
You can let that. I'm gonna let you have that one just this once, so not too much. Second is I remember that exercise that you did. Now I don't think I was at the one you were talking about, but I remember one in Florida where you took time for people to write down something that they just need to get rid of. And what I would say is that exercise or activity is it gives people time and space to really think about what it is that they need to let go. And when you give people that time to process what it is, write whatever they need to write down and put it in that basket, hat, bucket, wherever it is, it's freeing.
Mm-hmm.
It's an opportunity to say, can I be honest with myself? And can I write it down? And then once I put it in the basket, to let it go. Second is you mentioned that just because you have my number does not mean you have 24-hour access to me. Just because you have my number don't mean I'm going to respond to you every single time. First of all, I'm horrible at text message and phone calls. There are many people who will say like, did you get my call? I mean, I did. My bad, right? But honestly, I don't really pay attention to it unless it is my parents or my sister. She gets through. But again, I think a lot of people think just because they have your number and they reach out to you that they deserve a response. And that's not true. I think we have to level set those expectations. Also be honest with ourselves. I hear you and I hear myself now is like to let go of that guilt. Understanding that you have, I think what we always talked about, and it was in one of our chapters, like we understand the mission. And what I mean by that, we have an obligation to the people that we write about to get the message out there for others to read and the research and apply it to their daily practices.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been seeing all these comments in the chat, and there's so many good examples of this, right? Like Dr. Whitty talking about the fact that during his doctoral program, I've told this story. I don't know if I've ever said it on the podcast, but I mean, my family's listening. My mom is out there. So please call me out. Say he lying if I'm lying. But when I got to do my doctorate, there was a point at which I thought I was at nearing the finish line. And my my methodologist told me, she said, when are you trying to graduate? And I said, I'm graduating in May. And she said, oh, there's no way you can graduate in May. It was like September, October. And I said, what do you mean? She said, oh, no, you can't graduate by May. You got to conduct your study. You have to analyze your data. You have to get a defense together for the proposal. Then you got to get a defense together for the final. I mean, at best, you can graduate by the following May. But by that time, I had already told my parents I was graduating. They had already reserved hotels for all of the family to descend upon the city to see me graduate. And I'm sitting here thinking, if you think I'm about to go tell my family that I am not graduating, you got another thing coming. But at that point, I thought, this is it. I got to call my parents, tell them it's over. I went to my advisor. I was like, Dr. Kusum Singh is her name. Methodologist told me that I can't graduate. And I thought I was graduating in May. That's been the plan. He said, well, then why don't you show her? And that was it. I knew it was game time. Like no playing around, because no one was going to make me finish a doctorate, right? I was going to have to do it for myself. And so I remember I got on the ball even more around that time, which was October, November. I remember I moved very quickly to get my proposal together, and I defended my proposal on like November 15th. And it was a slam dunk, got it through, moved on to the next, started conducting my study. And listen, I passed my proposal November 15th. For those who at least live in the US, November and December are interesting times because we have holidays during those seasons. And I wrote my family, I was like, listen, I can't do it. You will not see me for Thanksgiving. You will not see me for Christmas. I am so sorry. But I've got to focus. I've got to get this done. I have a lot of work to do. Now, here's what I will do. I will be sure that I've finished this degree, and I'll bring y'all all together in May for my graduation. But you're going to have to excuse me. And I'm talking about, I wrote them emails to everybody. Text message wasn't even that popular like that. But I mean, however I communicated to my family, certainly to my parents, my brothers, my sister, I'm not going to be there. And you know what I did? I hunkered down. And I remember being in my office, working on my dissertation as a doctoral student, like 38 hours in a row, multiple days, because I had a vision. I had something I needed to do. Little did I know that the audience that I spoke to this weekend was what I had faith to believe in back when I finished my doctorate. Like, I was writing and I was focused and I was working hard for an audience I had not seen, that I just saw this weekend. And I knew that something had to happen. Like, I wouldn't be in front of that audience without the doctorate. I wouldn't be in front of the audience without the books, but I had to get through this. And for anybody who needs to hear this, there's something that right now seems like this big, gigantic challenge in front of you, but there's something, someone, some community, some group that will benefit because you push through this go through. Don't allow anything to aggravate your peace, to distract you, to make you feel guilty about it. Focus. Be focused. Keep going. What's that song? Keep going, keep walking. Because as Dr. Whitty can attest to it, they finished their doctorate. I know Dr. Freeman's out there. I know she finished honor. She got her, first of all, she got a master's, came back and got an honorary doctorate, runs a ministry, a church, and a mentoring ministry. All you got to do is Google Arletha McSwain. She got signs all over and her name all over stories about how she has built global systems and global education programs for multiple universities. I'm simply saying we all are doing good work. I'll shut up. But when you do good work, remember, good and evil are always warring. And so sometimes evil is not like a person. It's not darkness. It's just the stuff that seems to get in the way. It's the busyness. It's the stress. It's the guilt of feeling like, oh man, maybe I should put the dissertation aside and go hang out or go to Taco Tuesday. Do not do that. Go to Taco Tuesday after you get your doctorate done.
Okay. Ain't that a fact?
Speaking of which,
all right, Fran,
we need to have 24 hours just because I have a smartphone. I'm screaming. That's right. Yes. We just got to move through them. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
First of all, y'all using this chat tonight, making me happy. Not allowed. Come on, McSwain.
Not allowed. You do have to figure out who, it's just protect your peace. I tell my assistant now, one thing I've learned is, like, I'm an energy person. I can feel energy. And when negative energy is around me, it distracts me, right? It's like, I can feel it, that something is around me that's like not on the same vibration. And sometimes it's just a person who's actually a good person who's operating at a lower frequency. And I need to be attentive to that because I gotta help get them motivated and get them amped up. And that's cool because we all need to be there for each other. We are a village. We are a community. Everybody's got, it's okay to not be okay. Everybody's got that part, right? But by the same token, sometimes that sense and sensibility protects me from people who come to sort of disturb my productivity and disturb my peace. And so I do ask questions like, how are you doing? What's wrong? What are you thinking about? These are questions that you and I even ask each other when we're around each other, like, what's on your mind? Or if one of us goes, what's wrong?
That's a clear indication.
Right? Like, what are we doing? Because there's just too much that rides on being in the right kind of headspace. But all that to say, I think it's unfortunate that we have a society where people have to feel guilty or bad or not have to, where people are made to feel bad for having priorities, me time, us time, private time, and because my mom always helps me. She's sometimes she says she's like has her notebook out during these episodes. So for anybody who's like learning and thinking through this, listen, there's some things we should think about. If we are a person who has made someone feel that way, then use tonight's conversation to realize, you know what, I got to stop doing that. Right? I shouldn't make people feel bad because you said you needed to hunker down and meet this major deadline. What I should say is, one, did you make it? You did? Okay, now can we celebrate that you made it, right? Ice cream on me. That's a better way of being a friend and being a part of one's village during these difficult moments. I think a second thing is, if you are a person who has been made to feel that way, you don't have to be at a keynote with one of us to write something on a piece of paper. You can do this right in the privacy of your own home right now. Write down the things that you are being made to feel guilty about, things that you need to get off your chest, things that you need to be set free from. And you can either throw it on the floor, you can rip it up. If you really want to be dramatic and you can do this safely, you could light it up with a torch, burn it up. No longer will I worry about that. For somebody, listen, I was doing this in Baltimore, and afterwards I was telling you there's this long line of people who wanted to talk to me, and everybody was coming up. They were telling me like all these personal situations. And one young lady was saying she was so convinced from my keynote that belonging does matter. And you know how it typically ends is something like, we're quoting, "You matter, you're enough, you belong here." And with tears in her eyes, she said, because when you said you're enough, I felt that. And then the tears were harder. She said, I felt that, like I am enough. And then she starts talking about what she calls trauma, traumatic experiences, boyfriends that told her she was inadequate, parents that told her she wasn't as good as her siblings, aunties and uncles who never really treated her like she was pretty. And she's a grown adult who is dealing with the trauma associated with being named inadequate, labeled inadequate, messaged inadequate. And one person pops in on a stage in Baltimore and says, you're enough. And it bursts through years of that trauma. I love how Dr. Lucas, our president of Virginia Union, talks about he's got like 4 years with students to work through the trauma that's been issued to them over 18 years. I sometimes have 60 minutes on a stage to deal with the trauma that some people have brought through 30 and 40 years of their life. I'm just trying to tell somebody, I don't know how you do your work, but as Tanita said, we're all doing good work in different ways, which is why we got to write the papers. We've got to publish the journal articles. We've got to issue the policies. We've got to, do the podcast. We've got to do the speak. Whatever your good work is, it's important because there are people out there who are suffering silently. Not from something that happened to them today. I'm talking about stuff that happened 20 years ago. And all you got to say to somebody is you're enough. And your pronouncement of that with faith and authority is enough to break through those damaging messages of years to where she starts to believe that maybe I am. Maybe it's all a lie. Maybe I'm not dumb. Maybe I'm not stupid. Whatever. Gets me excited. It makes me go do another talk any day.
Well, I tell you, my friend is having a ball. Okay.
You hit the sweet spot. This wasn't even what we said we were going to be discussing tonight.
It's not, but I don't know if we're going to get there tonight. We apologize. Not really. Well, at least I don't. That we haven't really spoke about what we're going to talk about. We probably could get there at some point, but let's ride this way while we're on it. And I think that it will be a really good opportunity for us to have the listening audience, people who will listen later, to take some time to write down what you should let go today. So you can use your smart device, put it in your notes. You can use your laptop if it's near you, or iPad if it's near you, to write something in Word, or what's the other one called? Pages. Or if you have a notebook, flip to the next page, because I know you're taking notes, to write down exactly what you need to let go in this moment that will set you free for the next week and the weeks to come. So, Fran, we also have to do this as well. We can share it out loud. We can put it on the screen, however you want to do it. But again, I think, look, what, 15 seconds, 30 seconds? Enough time?
Yes. More than enough time. As in, are you ready?
Am I writing?
No. Are you writing? Or are you saying, sharing?
Well, I don't know mine yet. I got to think. I need time to think too.
Well, I just put mine all over the whole entire internet right there because half that stuff was live and on at 5. I mean, it was coming from a real place. I'm trying to tell you.
And you was hot.
You yourself.
You were hot.
Mhm.
It was good.
No, I think that one hit for me. Yeah, I think that the guilt of being good. Yeah. Like my mom and dad and grandma raised me to be, and my pastor growing up, the late Bishop Herman Clark, and First Lady Helen Hughes Clark, still alive. My village raised me to be humble. These are messages that they taught us. Don't be arrogant. Don't be cocky. Don't be, walking around like you know everything. That's not attractive. No one likes to be around a know-it-all, right? But don't be small. Don't play small just because other people are uncomfortable with your size. Don't dim your light just because other people don't want you to shine. Like these are messages, sermons, songs, conversations, just a whole lot of different ways I receive these messages. And I realize that I move in a world where if you're not careful, people will make you feel bad because you're good. Because you don't do what they do, people are generally petty, right? So if you're mad at me, but I say hello, and then before you know it, it's, oh, okay, well, he got to say hello to everybody. I absolutely do have to say hello to everybody because I like good energy around me. And so one way I pour good energy around me is I say good morning to everybody. People who don't say good morning, I still say good morning. I put little emojis of the sun because I like light. I don't know what other people like. Other people might like darkness. That's fine. I just don't do it. I don't put black in my text. I don't put the sun, the moon in my text. I put sun, light. Good morning to everybody. If someone says, well, I need help, I say, hey, can I help you? And if I can, I find a way to use my gifts and talents. I'm only 5'6", 130 pounds. I'm not a big dude, but if I can use anything I got to help somebody, I will try to do it. Even people who will not help me. And I don't keep score and say, well, I helped you twice and you haven't helped me once, so therefore I won't help you a third time. My mom, my dad, my grandma, my pastors, all of my mentors taught me not to do it that way. Life is not good to you. My grandma said, love many, trust few. So I try to love everybody. And love looks like helping people, even people who don't help you or help themselves, right? So I think for me, part of what I've got to get over is this idea that like I should feel bad because I can do stuff. Come on, somebody. That I should feel bad because I'm not stupid. I should feel bad because I'm not a hard worker. I should feel bad because I'm nice to people. Oh, here's a good one. I should feel bad because people like me. I ain't do nothing to make them like me other than be nice to people. If you are nice to people, people like you. If you don't backbite, if you don't gossip. My mom used to always, I would hear her telling my dad, telling my brothers, telling me, like my mom used to say she worked in the hospital. She was like, and I don't get into all that gossip. I don't do it. One thing about me, I'm not going to be gossiping. I'm not going to be telling a bunch of jokes. Why? Because my mom, I remember this, if I'm wrong, put it in the chat, right? She would say, I don't do a lot of joking because sometimes joking goes too far and you end up hurting people's feelings. So hearing that growing up as an adult, I don't joke a lot, not in the workplace, not like the kind of joking that people say. Like the other day, there was a joke said and I was devastated by it. So too was the person who the joke was about. But the person who said the joke thought it was funny. And I remember thinking to myself, see, that's how hurt happens at work. And because of the seniority that person will never tell the more senior person, you hurt me when you said. And so my mom was right. You shouldn't do a whole lot of joking at work, but people will make you think because of that, right? I don't joke. Oh, you must be standoffish. Oh, you must be stuck on yourself. Oh, you must be antisocial. No, I just don't like hurting people's feelings. And I shouldn't feel guilty about that. So the thing I'm going to say I have to do more of letting go of is this weight that people put on you that somehow you should be ashamed, embarrassed, or play down your strengths and your talents because you are good. I'm not perfect. I tell people that every day of my life. But just because I'm not perfect, don't mean I'm not good.
Okay.
Monologue. I'm on the monologue.
Boy, I'm
It's
telling
pretty
you. Do you see me? Do you see me? Because that's how you
Remember-
asked. Where were we? Where were we when that? When he's like, did you
Florida.
see me on stage?
Florida. Do you remember when I used to have something in my cup? Yeah,
Good gracious.
You're hilarious.
No, I think that's really good. I think for me though, like something I have to kind of let go of is like not knowing the answers to everything. And I think that is okay. I mean, I'm not, like you said, I'm not perfect. I'm not an expert in all situations, all circumstances, all contexts. So, if I don't know the answer, just be honest, be like, I don't know the answer, and I feel bad about not knowing it. And if I don't know it, give people, like you said, use what I do know to push them or nudge them to a place that will help.
Yeah. I think, what I have, and we have others in the chat who have shared, but, understanding that so when I was in Baltimore, one of the a woman in the audience asked, and I got this from social media. I don't know why my social media is all in my life right now, but X is really doing something that, I don't know, every time I log in, it's like these positive affirmations and statements. And one of the ones I just remember reading said something like, how do I kind of get over my past? And the answer was by getting over the idea that you can get over your past. And that was powerful because I thought, yeah, like, why do we think that, things that hurt us in the past will come to a place where they won't hurt us ever again? But might it be more helpful and more healthy to believe that we'll just manage it differently? That, I still have, this is TMI, but whatever. I got girlfriends from high school who periodically, when I hear Mariah Carey sing a song, it takes me right back to 10th grade. And I remember this was our song and whatever happened, and we broke up, and this person is married and doing very well with their partner for life. But I still think about it, but I just manage it differently. It's not encoded in me as trauma. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not having a negative reaction to it. I process it. I think about the high moments of the relationship, how it ended, and then I just dismount very gracefully. And so I think sometimes we set these expectations that somehow we're going to hit this moment in life where stuff won't bother us at all anymore, or it won't hurt ever again. I won't ever laugh or cry again. Or to your point, I'll know all the answers. I think part of what we have to do is just embrace the fact that, one, we're all imperfect beings in an imperfect world, trying our best to do good. And if that's all we can accept, then that just level sets a lot of this, right? To where I can say, I don't know all things. And the good news is neither do you, and neither do you, and neither do you. But together, we do know a lot of things. We can know some stuff. If we can get over ourselves and all of the isms and bias and all that gets in the way of us collaborating and partnering in new different ways. I think, like Dr. Whitty captured from my earlier comment, just because we don't know everything doesn't mean we don't know something. And just because, people want to create us to be subject matter experts about everything. I mean, I used to do that when I first got my doctorate. I was like, oh my gosh, anytime somebody asks me a question, I got to have an answer. Oh my gosh, anytime somebody says I got to have an answer. And I freed myself from that. I had to, because first of all, people fact check you in a moment. So I was like, I got to a point where I was like, yep, I know this. Yep, I know that. No, I don't know that. But I can look it up. I can talk to you about it offline. I can do more. I can point you in the direction of someone who knows. But I think part of genius is knowing what you do know, the breadth and the depth to that, but also knowing what's outside of your scope and having the courage to name it and own it and be okay with it and still leave with dignity and respect and expertise. But like, I don't know all things about everything. No, I don't even know all things about my subject matter. I know a lot of things about my subject matter, and I'm a work in progress, and I'm a lifelong learner. So I'm still learning. And I think that's the other part that we can share with others and normalize for people. Is like, I think people often think, oh, you have a doctorate. Oh, you work in higher ed. You know everything. No, not really. Not usually. McSwain says, letting go of trying to convince others to address petty, mean, and messy folks. Yep. You can't make people do anything. You can lead them, what they say, lead them to the water, but you can't make them drink. That's a very true statement.
Can't make anyone do anything. Yeah, that's very true. Very true. And I think that what you said earlier, or just a minute ago, about like having a doctorate, feeling like you always have to have something to say in the conversation, although it's outside your expertise. I think that is something that I had to learn through experience early. Like I felt like I always had to have something to say. And knowing darn well I don't know what I'm talking about, but as long as it sounds good and you can perform it and you can have a little bit of energy, maybe it lands, but it never landed. So again, knowing where your lane starts and where your lane ends. And I think that's something that happens in the workplace too, is like there are folks who try to step outside their lane. Although they try to be, that's them trying to be helpful, but they're making more of a mess because they stepped outside of their lane than actually nudging the group forward. And now we're 2 steps back because we got to fix what you did. And then after we course correct, continue to move forward.
I mean, okay, so monologue coming in the making. How did you learn it though? How did you learn your lane and how to stay in it?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah. So, when I first started in my career, I felt like, in order to kind of establish yourself in the profession, you have to speak up, speak out, be, front and center and kind of lead the charge. When that's not the case. One, I think we said it before, is like, one step, go behind stage and learn what you need to learn so you can, when it's time to be up front, you can do that work. So early on, I mean, there's many times where I would be front and center talking and not knowing what I'm saying, and I would experience, failure. There are people who will raise their hand saying, fact checking, or that's not accurate, or, what do you mean by that, or what you said, and try to explain it further, not having the words to explain.
Yep.
Right. So how that leaves one feeling. Second is, I think that through our work, there were moments where I would try to do something, not understanding what's supposed to be done. And again, like your actions is moving the team further back from the goal than pushing them forward. And then, you have people who tell you like, here's some of the mistakes that you made. This is actually how you're supposed to do it. Learn from it, grow. Last and finally, after being trained on the processes and workflows and how you should do things and how you're supposed to conduct yourselves, now I'm starting to see how others are outside their lane and the impact that it's that is causing on the team.
Yep.
And I'm realizing like, oh wow, that used to be me, right? So now because of those experiences I've had in the past and being checked, which I'm so thankful for. In the moment, absolutely not. You're right. My feelings were hurt. I was upset. My chest was out, but then it was in because I was wrong. Now, when I see these things, I'm able to give some grace and be like, I used to be there as well. So here's where we kind of missed the mark. This is probably what should have been done. And if you do that, I think that you'll be better positioned moving forward.
Mm.
So I'm really grateful for those experiences that I had and those moments that I had. And I also am very, very, very thankful for the people who took the time and cared enough about my professional development to say, actually, you're wrong.
Yeah. You don't always feel good, but when you go back and think about it, talking a lot about my mom, but my mom always says, we all have our mountaintop experiences and our valley days. And the sort of older she gets and the more mature she gets, everybody can be grateful for their mountaintop experiences. When you win the award, you get the job, you win the race, you graduate. But it's a level of personal and professional maturity that one must have to also be grateful for the valley days, for the days you didn't get it right, for the days you didn't win the trophy, for the days you had to stand there and watch other people be celebrated, because it taught you how to, one, be humble, how to keep trying, how to realize you're good, but you haven't done to be honest with yourself about the effort you put into it. I mean, there are all sorts of, I think, benefits and lessons that come out of that, that really relate to, I think, how I think about lane. I remember sometimes I was in college having a conversation on the phone with my mom. I can't remember what was going on in my life, but I remember standing on this sidewalk and I had one foot on the sidewalk and then one foot kind of like on the ground. So I was on the phone with her and I was walking like this and we were talking about, the conversation made me think about what it means to stay in your lane. And the first epiphany I had about this phrase was, well, what is my lane? Stay in my lane. What is a lane, right? And I kept thinking, and my metaphor is like the lanes that we drive in. And I thought about how people say, like, stay in your lane. You need to get in your lane, stay in your lane. And the way we sling this phrase around, it's almost restrictive and controlling and limiting, like, get out my way, stay in your lane. Maybe, yes. But quite frankly, if you can move out of that headspace into, like, imagine you're driving down the street. If you are going to your house in Tennessee, there's only one lane you need to be in. You know what I'm saying? Like, to get to your house, you've got to be in this lane. So knowing your lane doesn't have to be limiting your life. It's really about knowing your destination. Like, the reason why I stay in my lane is because I know where I'm going. Where I'm going ain't where you're going. So why in the world would I be in your lane? You trying to go over here and do this and conquer this, but I'm staying right here. I know what my assignment is. I know what my destination is. I know what my skills and values are. So yeah, I'm gonna stay in my lane. You stay in yours. And I've said this before, like, I've talked to students, interviewed students, surveyed college students who will often, like, get into college or get into classrooms. Before you know it, they're competing. Right. And so now all of a sudden, the football players don't want to talk to the band, and the band doesn't want to talk to the spoken word artists, and the spoken word artists are mad at the cheerleaders. Why? Because the cheerleaders got celebrated in the campus newspaper. But why would the football players be arguing with the cheerleaders when you are not cheerleaders? Cheerleaders cheer. Football players play football. Stay in your. It's really not about, like, it's about knowing your own purpose. And I think some of that, to me, peace comes from knowing your purpose, right? Because if you can know your purpose and know where you're headed, you don't get worried when other people start flying by you. I have gotten to a place, not perfect, but I've gotten to a better place in life where I will like people's posts, because just because your book came out today don't mean my book's not coming out. Why am I gonna be mad at you because your book came out before mine, or because your keynote is 2 weeks before mine? I know I got one coming. So some of this is this competition that then starts breeding. I want peace. Peace depends on me knowing my purpose, not popularity. all these P words. And so many people want to be popular. I want to be on purpose. And to be on purpose, I've got to be in my lane. And my lane doesn't mean I have to just stay in this one little limiting place. It's really about knowing what's my assignment, what's my destination. There's breadth to my lane. I know that. Sometimes I'm speaking, sometimes I'm preaching, sometimes I'm singing, sometimes I'm teaching, sometimes I'm, funny, sometimes I'm not funny. Whatever it is, I'm still in my lane. And I think a lot of people have picked up this phrase almost in a way that's like restrictive and limiting. And it causes them to think that they have to be one way. When in fact, I don't think that. I think what you have to do is know your purpose, protect your peace. If it costs your peace, it's way too expensive. It's not worth it. No title, no task, no text is worth your peace. And for me, some of those lessons I learned through those valley days. I had a moment where I realized, and so I'll shut up on this, but so what does that mean? When you are going through difficult moments, it teaches you to be very clear. Who am I? What am I doing? Where am I going? Right? And I know better now today than I knew 5 years ago. I used to tell people I'm a public speaker and a professor. I think nowadays I tell people I'm a communicator. In fact, I tell people I'm a messenger. And I have a message for the world. And my message is quite simple. You belong here. Now, I communicate that message through my writing, through the podcast, through music, through my work, through my administration and my administrative leadership, through my teaching, through preaching in churches, a whole bunch of ways I communicate this, right? But the vocation to me today, my understanding of it is messenger. And here's the message that I have. So if someone comes to me and says, oh my gosh, I just made $50,000 because I have a mixtape out. I'm an entertainer. Why would I get jealous about that? The only reason why I would get jealous about that is because I've lost focus of who I am. I'm not an entertainer. So the messenger can't be mad at the entertainer because the entertainer nets more revenue in some product or activity, right, than I do. If it's really about the revenue, I just got to start thinking, then how do I work within the framework of the messenger to generate the same kind of revenue? And as a Christian, as a man of faith, I start praying and working. Faith without works is dead. So praying and working. How am I going to do this and build this? But I cannot ever get to the point, because actually, and I'll shut up, there's a lot I can learn from the entertainer. There's a lot I've learned from entertainers. There's a lot I've learned from tech people or IT people. There's a lot that I've learned from librarians, people who have a totally different lane, but I've watched them work and move, and it's really helped me know who I am. So to me, when you know who you are, you stay in your lane. When you know who you are, you stop competing with people who are not your competition. When you know who you are, you stop auditioning for roles and in rooms for jobs that can't even actually handle your light and your truth. Because the moment you apply for that job that is not in your lane, because you done got in a competitive spirit with somebody, and now you're not going to get it. And even if you get it, you're not going to stay, because it wasn't designed for you. What is for you is for you, but it requires you to know who you are. Stay in your lane. It's like we were saying, hopefully it'll be okay to talk about, but like you and I have talked about the fact that, we have a collaboration in our work, right? And we collaborate, we literally collaborate, like get on the screen and write together. And people, if you're not careful, we're not careful, we'll start to plant seeds.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Of dissension that will cause us to no longer collaborate. Come on, somebody, but compete. And the moment competition enters in the way in the way of like collaboration. It's not possible. Competition and collaboration can't coexist. It's like light and darkness. It's like love and hate. It's like up and down. They just do not go together. And so what we have had to do, I'm gonna be honest, because I know you'll be honest, is we had to help people realize, like, have you talked to him this week? Yes, we talk every single day. Well, I mean, I saw that last paper. It sounded a lot like you. Well, that's because we sound a lot like each other. When you collaborate, you can't. When you co-labor together, you should get to a point where, the worst thing in the world is for two people to be in the kitchen trying to make something, cook a meal, and everybody be like, oh, no, you cook this part. You ain't cook. Y'all put this together, but I don't know. Your beans don't mix with their greens. That's a horrible meal. You want people who can get in the kitchen, cook together. And when people eat, they be like, now I don't know which one of y'all made these corn. I'm vegan, so you gotta help me here, right? I don't know who made this cornbread. I don't know which one of y'all made
mac and cheese. You can do the sides. It's okay.
Mac and cheese, but y'all put your foot in it, right? You want it like that. But let's be honest, it is work to teach people that we are friends and we co-labor and we collaborate. And we are not competitors, nor will we ever be. I'm gonna stop.
Well, listen, I mean, if you want to go there, although we had an hour and 11, I was gonna say let's go home, but I know there's some folks out there who says that they don't like hearing that word. So I'm gonna say, I like what I want to say. And Tanita, I'm glad I see you on the screen right now because I need your help. So I think you know the answer to this. You talk about the valley, but there's a song that popped in my head every time you said it was, "There's a lily in the valley, bright as a morning star. Although there is darkness and there you seem like you can't go nowhere, or you stuck, there is a lily in that valley that you must continue to, focus on and understand that valley is the lesson that you need to learn for your breakthrough." Second is, yes, there are people out there, and now you hit a nerve for me, so I may have a little monologue because it's silliness, and that is when you and I are right, we have learned over time to weave together. And how we do that is you write a sentence, put a period, literally a sentence. Now, there may be times where you get in a groove or I get in a groove and it may be 2 or 3 sentences, right? Or maybe a paragraph, but you take the very next paragraph or I take the very next paragraph. But the approach is weaving. So you take a sentence, put a period. I take a sentence, put a period. You take a sentence. But because we work together for so long, the voice really does. It's like harmonizing, right? Mm-hmm. These groups who have practiced time and time again and learned each other, and they're so in sync that when they perform or when they produce, or when they put out their article, blog, paper, whatever it is, it sounds in sync because of what we've done together. We have collaborated over time to where our voices have really merged together, where it really does sound like one. And I think that's what we want, right? There's no reason for, no one wants to, it's just like when you assign a paper to a group. In this group, someone writes, this section, another person writes this section, another person that writes this section, they may or may not edit it for it to, for it to have smoothness. And you understand, like, okay, 4 or 5 people wrote this paper. 2 people wrote this paper. Yep. That's not what we want, right? We want it to sound like one person wrote it.
Yep. That's what Tania put in the chat. Create the same sound when collaborating. And you hit it as we sort of wrap up here. I hadn't thought about it in my first monologue, but I think about it as a musician, as a choir director, as a piano player, that it's called harmony. And nothing is worse than having a beautiful song where you got 6 people who want to be the solo singer in their own space, singing over top of everyone. And you've got people who don't know their part, don't know their lane, they're out of key, some are in key. I mean, what we call that, look it up in the dictionary, is a cacophony. CACOPHONY. It means a bad sound, right? We want people to come across and by the way, and one of my coworkers helped me realize this week. You don't get there overnight. You don't just become co-laborers in the work. You don't become collaborators. You just don't get to a point, you just fall into the same office and you cooperate. It takes time. You've got to get to know each other. You have to learn each other's style. There are things you have to do to level set standards and rise to those standards and offer feedback. And y'all ready for it? This is the uncomfortable part for most people. You're going to have moments where you disagree. You got to push through them. You're going to have moments where you don't see eye to eye. And you got to sit there until you just see eye to eye and say, well, I know you're mad, so just close your eyes and I'm going to keep on talking. And when you're done, we're going to open those eyes and we're going to see eye to eye. You know what I'm saying? And I know you're upset and I know that my approach was wrong. And that's why I apologize for my approach, because the last thing I want to do is hurt your feelings. But I do have to say that my feedback still stands. So can you forgive me for my approach, but also then talk to me about how we can work through this feedback? And it takes time. And guess what? Here's the other thing. You might start it on a Monday, got to take a break on Tuesday. It's too much. Pull back. But get back in there on Wednesday, right? I just told a friend of mine this week, I said, listen, no, you are too important to me for us to let go of each other. Just because time and space and difficulty, no, I'm not going to do it. No, I put too much in this relationship. So I don't know what you got to do, how many days you got to take. I don't know if you got to block me to go and unblock me. Go do it. Get out your system, because I'm not going to give up on our friendship. You've done some things that have been unproductive, and I certainly have done some things. But by the same token, look at the good that we've been able to do. And I think for all of those, we spent time at the front of the show talking about not feeling the guilt. But listen to this. If you have someone in your life who has, we always say it about staying at the table, right? Stay at the table. You might have to lean to the side. You might have to fold your arms and lean back. But someone who you trust, and you can trust. And I'm talking friendships. I'm talking workships. I'm not talking about complicated, what do they call it?
Entanglements.
Entanglements. Thank you very much. I'm talking about that. That's another episode for another day. I'm talking about just good, wholesome people that, like, y'all said something and you fell out of each other. Or, you got the award and I didn't get the award. Or, people celebrated you and I felt overlooked. If it's a productive and important friendship, relationship, make time to get to the table and make amends. Life is too short. If you don't miss it, then it's not worth it. But if you're going to miss it and you're thinking about it and it's a friendship, my grandma, before she passed, she would say, baby, I only got 5 friends. And I was like, oh, my poor grandma, she ain't popular. And she would name them, the 5 friends who, when her husband died, put her in a car and drove her to where she needed to go. That when a loved one who, my grandma lived in North Carolina, she had a loved one who died and lived in New York City, and the person drove her to New York City. This is before we had fancy electric cars. I'm talking back in the days. My grandma said, that person put me in the car and they took me there. And she said, and you know what? That's a friend, Rail. And I kept thinking, okay. And she said, well, how many friends you got? And I would go to Facebook and I say, I have 3,107 friends. And she would say, baby, just keep on living. And the longer I've lived, the more I've realized my grandma is so smart, because she would say, just step out on them and see if they catch you. Just need them one time and see if they'll be there for you. And if I talk about people who I can truly step out on and depend on and be my authentic self with and say, look, I'm having an off day. Will you, cover me? Hey, I'm afraid of something. Will you pray for me? Or, hey, I need this. Will you help me get it? Boy, that 5,000 shrinks down to 4,000, down to 3,000, down way past 1,000. I'm down to under the hundreds, into the single digits, and about headed where my grandma was, right? Because you don't end up having that kind of quality and depth to all these friendships that sustain you over the course of time. Dr. Whitty says, the Clark sisters are all soloists, but when they sing together, you can hear one voice. And we love the Clark sisters. They go on our playlist on those work sessions.
Definitely on there.
All right, closing thoughts, friend.
Closing thoughts. I would say
there's a
that.
question.
Oh,
What's our astrology signs?
oh God, I don't know.
You don't know yours? I'm a
Wait, what's?
Taurus.
Oh, Gemini.
Gemini?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, there it is. I'm a Taurus. So do you know anything about Geminis?
I know a lot about Geminis. Yeah, one thing I would say is that well, I don't know how it's phrased, but basically, like, there are two sides of us, and that's true. It's like either you up or you're down. Either you're in a good mood or a bad mood.
Say what?
You not hear me?
I'm sorry. I was trying to keep up with the
You're
chat.
distracted. Pay
I
attention.
was trying to keep up with the chat. Curate the chat. Yeah.
Two sides to a Gemini. Up or down, good mood, bad mood.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, see, I knew that was going somewhere.
I'm glad you replayed that. But listen, I love you to pieces. I don't care. You're one of my closest friends. I don't, hands down. I mean, I will fight people for you.
100%. Put the Timbs on.
Yeah, easily 10 toes down. And then ask, what did you do? So I'm gonna defend you, and then go ask you. So I just beat them up. Was I wrong? What would you do? Were you
that
at fault?
part? Yeah.
I'll ask questions later, but I got you 10 toes down. But I know for a fact that in the time that we have known each other, there are times that you're in or out, up or down. And what it has taught me as a friend to a friend is I've got to be mindful of that. Right. So like I do have to know, check in. How are you doing? How are you feeling? Like today, I got pulled into a meeting. It throws off our regular routine of the pre-show. I communicated, hey, I got to go do this. But I knew coming into the pre-show, you're going to be a little off because he a Gemini, you know what I'm saying? And so I can't come in there with my own attitude. I had to get myself together before the pre-show because I already know it's going to be a little bit of uphill battle. Why? Because you're a Gemini. By the same token, I'm a Taurus. So I can be stubborn. And more importantly, I'm extraordinarily comfortable with routine. And so if we say 6 o'clock, it ain't got to be 6 o'clock. It could be 6:05. It could be 6:10. But if 6 o'clock don't happen, oh God. Or if 6 o'clock become 8 o'clock and I didn't know, oh Jesus.
Yeah. But it's like the truth though, is like as we have grown over time in our relationship early on, let me tell y'all something. Honestly, we would literally say, okay, we're gonna meet at 6 o'clock p.m. to start working on a project. I wouldn't come and I would not communicate nothing. I would come in at 8:05. And I'll tell you, Terrell would have a whole attitude for an hour. We didn't even start working on I'll be there at 8:05. We wouldn't start to 9:05 because we're gonna talk about why I was late, 2 hours late at that. And then why I didn't call, text, page, send a pigeon over with the note. Something I had to learn. So now I know when I'm late. I can tell you right now, if I'm going to be at 30 seconds late, I'm sending a text.
And guess what? It's the strangest thing in the world. But listen, because we can talk about this and then move out of here. And that is, but that note to me, so I'm not gonna get emotional. But you know what that note communicates to me? I'm getting emotional only because I was just talking about this in Baltimore to people. The student was saying that their professor cares about them. I was like, well, how do you know your professor cares about them? And they said there was a day that the professor couldn't meet them. And he sent a note before time, letting them know something has come up and we're not going to have class. Here's the part. He said, I know some of y'all commute to class. Some of y'all had to go pick up kids I don't want you to have to do that. That's why I'm telling you up front, we're not having class. The student is telling me the professor sent a letter, but the message that was received was you love me and you care about me. And to me, that little text that you sent to be like, hey, Definitely not going to be there at 6 because I'm having this 30-minute dinner that's going to become 3 hours. So it's going to be 9 o'clock. What you're communicating to me is, friend, I care about you. I respect you. I love you. You're going to fight for me. I'm going to fight for you. And when you come in at 9, you can come in at 9:05. I'm ready to go. I'm like, okay, what'd you have to eat? How was it? Tell me all about it. I got to hear about it because what I feel, you might have seen, I just sent a text. And somebody needs to hear this tonight. It might just be a note. It might just be a comment. It might just be a hi, but the message that the person receives is so much more powerful than that. So it just simply shows us that they're like simple acts we can take. All of us, everybody, right? I appreciate, people asking about our signs because I don't believe that's, not in the sense of like your sign typecasts you, but I do think just like life and science and religion, you can learn things about people from all sorts of sources of information. And there's some things about Tauruses that are not me. I'm not a typecast kind of Taurus, but there are some things that line up with the general characteristics. I think as it makes us better. What people don't know, and then we're going to stop here, is, I don't know the number. I know I have it in my calendar. We met at a conference.
It's coming up actually.
We met at a conference that neither one of us expected to go to.
Well,
that's how the
universe. No, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I did not want to go.
Well, I didn't even expect. And in fact, my president was supposed to be going, and because he could not go, I was asked to go, and I'm so glad I did. So glad I did. Like, okay, we got to shut up. This show.
Yeah, because that part gonna go a little long though.
I'm just trying to tell y'all. Somebody listen. We got to get out of here. But you may have to do something this week that you don't want to do. You might be thinking about something you had to do this week. You're like, I'm not looking forward to it. It is not the highlight of my week. I don't have time for it. Listen, if you got to do it, do it, do it, do it, do it, because I went to this conference. We sat on opposite sides of the room.
Child, and we wore the same thing, though.
The same thing. And saw each other, did not speak most of the day. But at the end of the day, you said one word that caught my attention. He said, somebody asked him, where is he from? And he lied and said he was from Nashville. And at that time, I lived in Nashville, and Nashville is one of my favorite cities. I was like, oh, you live in Nashville? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, is your phone number 615? And he's like, yes. And I love 615. I have a hat somewhere that says 615. And that was it. From there, we started talking about Nashville and what do we like about Nashville. And we exchanged information, and literally, Major has a song that says, my life is better with you in it. My life is better because you're in it. There it is. Yeah. And with that,
yeah, cut the show, Fred. Cut the show, cuz
we appreciate each and every one of you tuning in every week to Do Good Work Podcast, where we talk about those issues that really matter, those issues that make a difference in the world, those issues that really help and equip each and every one of us.
Because I am
to do good work. Listen, when you go out this week, do not be afraid to do something. Do something good. Do something grand. Do something big. We call it doing good work. And then we will see you back again next week for another episode of Do Good Work Podcast. Friends, we're out.
Thank you for tuning in to Do Good Work Podcast. We hope you found today's conversation informative, uplifting, and insightful. Don't forget to like and share this episode with your networks. Follow us on social media at Do Good Work on X, formerly Twitter, for real-time updates, behind-the-scenes content, and so much more. Until next time, friends, don't be afraid to do something, but do something good. Do good work.